Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Letting Go of Her podcast. Um, the weather out here has been interesting, wild. It goes from like hot to cold to windy to hot to cold to rainy to windy to hot to cold to rainy, windy, hot, cold, 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 hot, hot. um, it's not making up its mind, which only means that my allergies can't make up their mind either. Like they don't know whether they want to flare up or like not flare up or they want to calm down or like give me a sinus infection. Like they're all over the place. And some days I feel better and some days I don't feel better. And then some days there's like head pressure and sinus pressure. And then other days it's like, ooh, I feel free, right? And then other days like my ears hurt and like it's just been a whirlwind of things. And I feel that like as I've been getting older, my allergies have been getting older, and not so much like because like before, like my allergies were just like releasing snot uncontrollably. Like my nose would just like drip, and then that was it. But now I feel that like everything is more like stuck inside, and there's nothing I can do to like release it. If that makes sense, like it's more pressure in my sinuses. And so when I press like, my upper cheeks, sinus, nose area, whatever, like sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it makes my ears hurt. Yeah, sometimes I get like pressure headaches or sinus pressure headaches or whatever. So like it's just interesting how it's all like shifted and I'm like, how do I get all of this like out, right? And I have been using Chat GTV, GBT, G I say GTB, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Chat GPT. I don't know. Anyways, and it's like use a saline spray and sleep upright and do all these things, right? So I've been using a saline spray at nighttime, which like as soon as I spray my nose, I'm like like I feel like I can finally take a deep breath. And then it says to sleep upright because I always tend to sleep on my left side. So like my left side like sinuses and my left ear are the ones that bother me the most. And so it's like sleep upright, right? So I try to like prop up my pillows so that I can sleep like sitting up, right? But that's extremely uncomfortable. So I did that one night and because my posture was like all off, then it like triggered pain in my chest, not like chest pain, but like a muscle pain, because like my posture was like off, and then like my shoulders were hurting, my back was hurting, and then I was like, I don't know what's worse, like the ear pain that I feel from my sinuses and the sinus pressure, or like this chest pain, shoulder, back pain thing from like sleeping awkwardly. So, anyways, getting fun is a privilege, is what I keep reminding myself of. Is that getting older, aging is a privilege. It's an honor. Um, but all these little like tweaks, like I'm just like I don't know how to deal with them right now. So, anyways, that's where I've been. These last couple of days it's been fun, but like it's been livable or doable or whatever. I have started taking my allergy pill every day, which like I wasn't for like months, and I do feel that like although I still have a little bit of symptoms, it's not as bad as it was. So it's fine. It's just like a season of life, right? It's just literally um the weather season, and I'm praying and hoping that it'll go away once the weather decides to not be so bipolar and once it decides to figure out whether it wants to stay cold or stay warm. But I was like driving this morning to the warehouse and I was like thinking about like what am I going to talk about this week? Um and like I had this whole like idea, right? Because I've been wanting to talk about basically like where the anxiety that I had been dealing with for like years is, and how I'm kind of managing that. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can talk about that. And like, although I still feel that I need to talk about that, um, I feel that I don't want to say I need to do more research on it, but I feel that that conversation is one that I need to kind of sit down and write what I actually want to talk about so that I don't go on random rants and then like forget halfway through like what I really wanted to say. And I just haven't had the time to like sit and really like I guess outline what it is like that I truly want to say on that episode. So as I was like driving, I was like, okay, well, like what is something else that I can talk about, right? And last week I talked about my conviction of like my laziness, right? My laziness, and like I do have the time to clean and I do have the time to cook, but I decided to rather like rot on my couch and do absolutely nothing and then complain and complain that I'm like so tired and that my house is a mess and that I don't have time to cook. And it was just like this vicious cycle that I was going in. And granted, it's only been like a week since I recorded that episode, and it's only been like a week since I was I guess essentially convicted of that. But I feel that this week, one, I like sort of had more energy. Um, two, I feel that like I didn't veg out on my couch as much. And like three, like my kitchen actually got like dirty. Like my stove got dirty. I just posted a picture of that on my Instagram where like I showed that like my stove was dirty. Every 2 weeks I have someone who comes and like deep cleans my home for me. And like I'm pretty sure for like the last like couple months, she's just like, why am I even like here? Um because like my stove, like it's hasn't been dirty because I literally have not been using it, right? And like granted, I do tend to use like my air fryer a lot. Or like my crock pot a lot, or like we grill. So like my stove being like relatively clean is like sort of normal. But like the fact that like I had crumbs and like when you're boiling something and the water spills over and leaves a little like residue and stuff and whatever, like my stove has been dirty, and that's because I have been cooking. I still use my air fryer a lot, don't get me wrong, and we haven't grilled anything because my husband is still like slowly getting off of his like very bland like diet. But I feel that like towards the end of this week we'll probably grill a little bit more. But yeah, and so I was really proud at the fact that like I was cleaning my kitchen. What was it? I think it was Friday, and then I was like, oh, it's like my stove is dirty, and I literally like didn't clean it because I was like, it's okay. Next Thursday, she will come and she will deep clean my stove, and I want her to see that like I actually cooked. Um, so it's just like a funny little thing, but I do feel like better about it. Like this weekend, granted, I know that my husband couldn't really like eat out or anything, and we did go eat at Panera Bread Friday night. He just had like a chicken noodle soup, um, but like I feel that like Friday dinner, Saturday lunch dinner, like Sunday breakfast, like we would always like be eating out. But this week we only ate that one Friday night. And that's just because my husband was like, I need something with a little bit of flavor that's not gonna destroy my stomach. And so he had the chicken noodle soup. But like I've been cooking at home, like usually Saturdays after church. Um we will like go out to eat dinner, right? And we usually go out with like different friends that we kind of run into. It's just part of the fellowship that we enjoy doing. And I thought like, oh well, since my husband had Panera Bread last night, maybe he might be like, oh, let's go to Panera Bread again for dinner because it's the one thing I can eat. But he was like, no, we're gonna go home. We're gonna cook at home. Which like, a part of me was like, oh, I don't want to cook, right? But like the second part of me was like, no, this is good, right? And so I'm really happy that very slowly, like I said, it's only been a week, but very slowly we're like making those um little bits of changes. Like today I made us breakfast. I came home and I made us lunch. I'm cooking some rice and some veggies for him right now to kind of help him meal prep for a few more lunches for the rest of the week. Um and yeah, I bought all the groceries. I get all my groceries delivered because I don't have time. That's not true. I do have time to go to the grocery store, but I'd rather spend my time doing something else. So I do pay for the subscription, also because of the business, to get my groceries delivered from Sam's Club and my groceries delivered from Walmart. And so that's what I did yesterday. I like kind of went through like, what am I going to cook this week? Because my husband can slowly eat a little bit more, and like I can just eat the same thing he is, but like incorporate different things. Like I can't eat rice because I'm allergic to it, but like I can add an extra veggie or a salad. He can't eat salads yet. So yeah, just like little things like that. And so I ordered all of our groceries yesterday, and I was like, okay, no, like I'm gonna just keep it simple again this week so that like it doesn't take much effort on my part, but so that I can still keep eating and making food at home. But anyways, as I was driving and I was like, what can I talk about, right? And so I want to extend on this whole like conviction of laziness. In turn, like in no, what's the word? Not in terms. In in addition to so in addition to me being lazy and not wanting to cook or like not wanting to clean, right, like using every excuse in the book to like avoid doing it. Another thing that I have been lazy on and avoiding is working out and going to the gym, and just like taking care of myself or doing things that I know that make me feel good, um, which has been kind of convicting. And this was like, this kind of came from an idea of like something that I wanted to talk about like a while ago, but I just didn't really know how to execute it. So, God, I pray right now very quickly that the words that I'm about to say come through you, or come from you through me, and that I don't say anything offensively and I don't say anything in the wrong context. But I pray that it speaks to my soul because I know that it's something that I need to hear, but also that I am saying it correctly. So, um, there's this whole saying or this whole thing, right? And I'm sure everyone's heard it, where it's like husbands keep dating your wives, right? Like husbands, like even though you're married, no matter how many years you've been married, like keep dating your wives. And this was something that like um my husband and I had to work on, because my husband didn't understand it, right, for many years. And I'm saying this because we just celebrated our 12-year wedding anniversary, but for many years he just didn't understand when I'd be like, let me get a babysitter, right, so that we can go out to dinner. And to him, he would just be like, why, he's just like, why, we can just eat food at home, and why do we need to leave her somewhere, and why this and why that, right? And so it was kind of like not the biggest argument, but it was an argument that we had, where it was like, why do you and I need to spend together? Like, we have a child now. This is just when we had my daughter. And it's like, we have a child now. Like, she's our responsibility. We need to do good by her and be good parents and like be with her all the time. Right. And so it wasn't until like my husband gave his life to Jesus and then, kind of started reading more of his Bible and studying more and everything, where he realized, like, oh, wait, no, you might be right in a sense, right? Like, you might be right that you and I come before our children. I mean, granted, hierarchy goes God, husband, wife, then children, then the rest of the family. And so he was like, oh, wait, no, you're kind of right. Right. So I want to say like maybe the last 2-ish years, but more so in the last year, I feel that like we've really tried to make time for just the two of us. Um and it kind of more so happened when like the switch came on, where like I had to take over or help take over the business. And I was like, okay, cool, like I'm gonna do this for you, but I need you to do something for me. Like, I need you, like, I understand that your priority, or one of your priorities, is getting this business up and running, and making sure that you provide for us. I'm like, but I want to feel, I don't want to say provided for because I am, but like I want to feel like appreciated, I guess would be the better word. And I'm like, so if I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to do this for you with a happy heart and an open heart, even though I wasn't at first, like, I need you to do something for me. And so in the last, the last like 2 years, but more specifically in the last year since I started helping out with the business, we have really just like focused on where can we find little pockets of time where it's just the two of us. And at first it was something simple as like, as soon as we'd be done with the warehouse stuff, we'd go out to lunch before having to pick up the kids. So like, yeah, for a while we were like on a El Pollo Loco kick. So we would just go eat at El Pollo Loco, and like we would sit in the restaurant and eat our lunch there and talk about, whatever topic it was. And it made a difference, like being somewhere, even if it was a fast food place, like just sitting somewhere else and talking, than it is to like be at home. Because I feel like when we're at home, like our guard is kind of let down, so we're just scrolling on our phone while we're eating, or we're watching TV while we're eating, and we're not necessarily like communicating. But when you're somewhere else and you're face to face, like you have no choice but to talk and to communicate. So that was how we incorporated a little bit. Like, I remember um when he was first trying, and it's the cutest thing ever. He came home from school. Actually, he was still in school, like exhausted. He texted me, and like he wouldn't get home till like 9:30, 9:45. And he was like, I'm hungry. Do you want something? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So we got Jack in a Box and he brought it over and we sat on the couch and we were watching TV. And he just looked at me and he's like, I'm trying. And, it made me like, I think at that moment, like the Lord convicted me because it was like, I don't need these big elaborate date nights, right? Or these weekend getaways or any of that stuff. Like, I just need a husband who is willing to try. And that was what my husband was doing. My husband was trying. My husband, even if it was fast food on our couch while the kids were asleep, he was trying to give me what I was asking of him. And I think like it took me a while to realize that like, how do I say this? That like I needed to get out of this like this made up narrative that I had in my head over like what date nights look like or what quote unquote the perfect marriage look like or whatever, and realize that like no, like this is what we're capable of right now, and this is the perfect man that the Lord thought was for me. And so like I need to learn to be like accept that and not want more, not make like not live in this like made up narrative in my head over like no, like I expect date nights to be like at a 5-star restaurant or what is it, 2-star, 2 Michelin star, 3 Michelin star. I don't know, super fancy. We don't have that where we live, but um, and that I need the flowers and that I need the dress up, that I need all that. Like, no, no, no. Like, I just need, but like, I just, at that point, I just needed my husband to want to spend time with me. And that's what he was doing. He was giving me as much as he was capable of at that moment. And it was literally up to me to see that and for the Lord to change my heart and be like, no, this is the man who, like, I made for you, and this is as good as it gets for now. And you need to learn how to be happy with that. And so we've been working on that. We've really been working on like making time for ourselves. And so, even like now, like we'll put the kids to bed and we'll sit on the couch and we'll watch TV. We'll have like a show that like only the both of us watch. Um, and we like watch it together, and we'll have moments where we just like sit and like even if the kids try and interrupt us like, hey mom, hey dad, hey this is, and we're like, no no no, like mom and dad are talking right now, we will get to you when we are done and we will have our conversation or whatever. And I truly think that it's made like a huge difference in our marriage, um because I feel that like now, like I want to talk to my husband. And that sounds weird to say, but like now, like I want to tell him, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to do. This is like my goal. Or, you know what, I had problems with this or issue with that. Like now I feel that like I want to talk to him. And I feel like I've felt that shift with my husband as well. Like now, like he wants to talk to me. Now he wants to tell me things. And now he opens up like more. I don't know. This makes it sound like we had a bad marriage before, but we didn't. But it's just, you know, you're growing together and you're growing up together, and you just lean into different things. And like neither one of us grew up with like the best, I guess, marriage like role models. Like his parents are still married. My grandparents were still married up until my grandmother passed away. But it just wasn't the best picture of what a marriage truly was like. So like we've had to figure that out like in the last like 12 years, just like what it was. And when we first got married, we both had some certain like a certain expectation, which like made it horrible. And then we had kids, and so then we had a different like expectation of what we thought marriage was like, and that didn't work out. And I feel that like now we're like on a good like level of like, okay, I get it. And maybe it's because we're working together, maybe it's because we're both building this business together, um that like now it's like we understand because we're both at the warehouse together, but then we both come home to the same thing, right? Like we both come home to like the kids and the laundry and the dishes and everything. um and like we get home at the same time, and we both know the level of work that we both did that day. So like maybe just that mutual understanding helps us a little bit. But I don't know, because like we met at work and we've worked together pretty much like the entire 13 years that we've known each other. So I don't know, but either way, I truly think that the Lord has made like a huge shift in our marriage. But it was rough. It was really rough. This like just last year, like arguments and tears and pain, just like just utter pain. Um of like needing to change both of our hearts, right? Like of him needing to let go of his like stubbornness, of him needing to let go of his like, no, I can do everything on my own, but also like me needing to let go of my bitterness and like, I don't want to do this. Why do I have to do this for you? You know? And it truly just like shifted it. And like, yeah, I mean, I know that as years go on, we're gonna face other trials and stuff, but I'm glad that the Lord like just put us through that trial that we had to go through last year, in order to get us where we are now, to just kind of have a better mutual understanding of one another, and just know that like we are meant to rely on one another, because I feel that for a long time we were still living as like two independent individuals, um, but that's not how God designed marriage. God designed marriage for us to be able to lean on one each other. But anyways, what I actually wanted to what I actually wanted to make, my whole point of this is, the fact that like yes, like you hear the saying of like men keep dating your wives, right? But I also have been feeling convicted in like women, oh man, see, like now I don't know how to say this without sounding like rude or narcissistic or whatever, but like women also keep up with your job or your role in the household. um so it kind of just like goes back to like last week's episode of like, okay, if we want like our husbands are meant to work, provide for us, provide for the family, and like to keep dating us, right? But as women, like our role in the household is raising the children, which like our husbands help us too, but raising children, and then having a home for him to come home to, but then also like making yourself enjoyable to come home to. I don't know if that's the right words, or how it's coming out, but I feel that like when I was always like in a bad mood from like whatever reason, right? Like the first person I would always take it out on was my husband. Like always, like he'd come home and he'd be like, "Hey," and try and kiss me, and I'd just be like, like standoffish, and like he literally did absolutely nothing. He was just at work. But whatever my day was, like I was like taking it out on him. So like I know that like that wasn't enjoyable for him to come home to. Um, and yeah, so I feel that like, husbands have their role, but us as wives, like we need to remember that we also have a role too. And I feel that like we should be held accountable for that as well. I remember like when my daughter was younger and I had just like horrible anxiety, like I would text my husband and I'd be like, sorry, house is a disaster. I had anxiety all day and I just like I could not like function. And he'd always be like, that's okay. And then he would come home and either like at least help me with the dishes or at least help me cook or whatever it was, right? Um but it got to the point where it was like, no, like this is my role, right? And I'm not going to let something like anxiety take over and prevent me from doing my role, right? Because I felt like that's the enemy's attack, like that's what the enemy wanted me to do. The enemy wanted to be essentially a lazy wife, so that my husband would not be satisfied, or that I wouldn't be enjoyable to come home to, right? And I think that that's like where like marriages start to like stray away, right? Because it's like, oh well, my wife's always in a bad mood, and the house is never clean, or there's never food on the dinner table for me, right? And then that's where like marriages like just kind of like stray away, right? And so it had to be like a shift in my own mind where it was like, no, like this is where the enemy is attacking me. He's telling me that like I can't do any of this so that my husband can be dissatisfied with me, right? And so it I had to change that mindset, and I was like, no, like I can cook and I can clean despite the anxiety that I was feeling. And that's where like my whole coping mechanism came from, where it was like when I was like doing the dishes and I'd be anxious at that point, instead of thinking about the anxiety that I was feeling, I would be like thanking God. I'd be like, oh Lord, thank you that I have dirty dishes, because having dirty dishes means that I was able to feed my kids, and being able to feed my kids means that my husband still has a job and that he's able to provide for us. And like it just went on and on and on and on and on. And so it just created this huge list of things that I was grateful for. And like I think that so many of us like release these frustrating feelings on our spouses because we're like, well, they're married to us, right? Like they're stuck with us forever. um, but I think that that is where the enemy attacks us as wives, um, in the form of like not feeling like we're good enough and not feeling like we're doing enough. So that like alters our mood, right? And then we have these little like gremlins running around who are just little tiny sinners who do everything to trigger us, right? And so at that point, we're like, oh, I had a bad day because your son wasn't listening, or your daughter wasn't listening, or this or that or that or that, right? Um, and I feel that that is how the enemy attacks us as mothers, as wives, by just making us, yeah, just by making us feel that we're not good enough. And so that alters our moods, and that alters how we respond to our husbands, and our husbands get like the short end of the stick. And I think that that is something that we should all just kind of really work on. And that's not to say that like you're not allowed to have a bad day. Like you are. We all are, right? Like there are times where my husband would come home like not in the best mood, and I knew that it wasn't something that I did. It was something that happened at work or whatever, right? And I learned to just like give him his space and respect that. And then I knew that like when the time was right, he would come and he would talk to me. And he does. And he finally learned how to do that. Because before, you know, we were just two young little kids, and when he'd come home mad, I'd be like, oh no, what did I do? Right. And I tried to do everything to make him happy. And then nothing would make him happy because it was nothing that I did to begin with. And then I would feel sad because I'd be like, wait, what am I doing wrong? Right. Like he doesn't love me. Right. And so it would just be this like whole vicious cycle, that I feel that like we all kind of go through at some point. And I know that you can argue, like, but it's not fair. Right. I'm always at home. I'm always with the kids. The kids drive me nuts. The kids this, the kids that. It's not fair that I always have to clean, that everyone makes a mess, and I always have to clean after everyone. It's not fair that like I'm the only one doing the laundry and folding and putting it away. It's not fair that like he gets to mentally check out, or he gets to mentally go here, or he gets to drive by himself, right? And I'm always stuck driving with the kids. But we need to remember that it is the role that God gave us, and it is the role that God has put in front of us. And by doing our role, and by doing our role with a gracious heart, it is honoring to God. It is worshiping God. And they might seem like little tasks, right? But God sees us and God meets us. God meets us where we're at. And like I know for me, like I wouldn't be able to handle the like the financial stress that my husband carries. You know, God created man to work, and that is what men do. Men work. God created us to bear children, to raise children, and that is the role that I'm put in, right? And that's why he gave us each our specific roles, because I know for sure I would not be able to handle the working and the financial stress. And I know for sure my husband would not be able to handle the being with the kids and the cooking and the cleaning and stuff, right? And it's not to say that it's not going to be hard, because it is, right? Jesus didn't promise us that we might have trouble. Jesus promises that we will have trouble. And I think that sometimes we think like trouble is like something big, you know, like some drastic thing that's happened. But like having difficult kids can be trouble. Um, Having to financially provide for your family, even though if you have a good job, like, you know, there's still that financial stress could be trouble. Even having to do the laundry and the dishes, like that's all, like that's all trouble. And I think that we make it worse for ourselves by not having a gracious heart, and by forgetting that this is just the role that the Lord has called into our lives at the moment. um I think we just need to remember that. So wives, let us remember our role. You know, our husbands work, and may our husbands keep dating us, but as women, like, let us also do our role with it, with a cheerful heart. Let us also keep our houses clean. And that's not to say that it'll always be clean, but I hope that this message is coming out the right way. Um, you know, uh, um, cooking, or at least providing a meal of some sort, even if you have to run through the drive-through, providing for a meal in some sort. Um, and also like not leaving our bad attitudes and not letting it all out on our husbands. Because life sucks. Life is hard. Life is hard, but don't let the enemy come into this part of your life. Don't let the enemy take over, because that's what he wants. He wants us to be bitter. He wants our husbands to be tired. And then when we get together, we clash, because the enemy doesn't want marriages to thrive. Because through our marriages, more generations of believers come, right? So he wants to attack that, and he's going to attack that hard, and he's going to make us as women just bitter and angry, and he's going to make men stressed and stressed and stressed, and that's where he wants us to clash. But let us not allow the enemy. Let us not allow the enemy to destroy our marriages. So my prayer for today, I know that some men listen to this, but women primarily listen to this. So my prayers for the women, but I guess also for the men. But um, that we do our role with a gracious heart, that we do our role happily, and that we do our role without any bitterness or any resentment towards our husband. That we do it in honor of God, and that we do it as a way to worship the Lord, even if it's mundane, even if it feels like never ending, even if it feels like you're just repeating and it's Groundhog Day and you're doing things over and over and over again, even when kids are misbehaving, even when you want to punch your kid in the face, like even when you're bitter and you're angry, and the last thing you want is for your husband to just like touch you or talk to you or anything, right? That is where the enemy is attacking. And Lord, I just pray that we can see it that way, that we can see it as in like no one is against us. This isn't a poor me time. This isn't a pity party. No, this is the enemy attacking the root of our role, because he wants to attack our marriages, because through good marriages, through Christian marriages, is where other believers come from, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want more generations of believers. So may we just always remember that on the days where we just feel like giving up, on the days where we just feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. Remind us that it is our role, and it is the role that you have given us. And I pray this all in your son's name. Amen. Today, I am learning to let go of my bitterness, of my poor me, of my self pity, of having to do all these mundane tasks every single day, and where it feels like nothing I do is ever good enough, and where it feels that like I should get more help. But to just be reminded that that is the role that you have called me to do, because I am a new creation.